Hotels are for boring travelers. I only stay in Airbnbs, so I can get the local experience, live with locals, and really taste that local culture. Did I mention I like everything local and authentic? Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I make videos here about sustainability and slow living. Today we're going to be talking about another facet of the tourism and sustainability debate, which is Airbnb. If you'd like to see more videos I've made about this series, go ahead and check out the playlist at the end of this video. Most people love Airbnb, so I kind of hate that I'm the person that might ruin it for you, or at least just add more nuance to the conversation. But for starters, what is Airbnb? The site claims that it's a place to book unique homes and experiences. I used Airbnb for the first time in France last year when I went to Strasbourg. So my gals and I arrived to Eric's IKEA showroom hideaway and we paid about $23 per person a night to have an entire home to ourselves. And after that stay, I fell in love with Airbnb and I used it mostly where I traveled when I didn't stay in hostels, and I ended up staying in 8 more Airbnb homes throughout my time in Europe. Each stay was a unique experience, but my favorite by far was when I stayed with a French woman who was retired named Christiane, and she told me that she usually rents out her room through Airbnb every once in a while just to get new people into her life and to earn some extra cash on the side. And while you may think stories like Christiane's are the norm, they're actually the exception. When researching about Airbnb, I found a lot of different problems and concerns with their business model, but today I'll be just talking about 3. Let's dive into the first one, which is that Airbnb has some negative repercussions on housing in cities. For starters, in the case of New York City, about 3/4 of Airbnbs there are actually illegal due to multiple dwelling laws that the city imposes on short-term rentals. This, coupled with the fact that Airbnb has removed between 7,000 and 13,500 units of housing from New York City's long-term rental market, means that people are being displaced in a market that already has very high demand and low supply. A study by McGill University actually found that the median long-term rent has actually increased by 1.4% over the last 3 years in New York City. But all of this can maybe be justified by the fact that it's just families renting out their place when they're on vacation, right? Or cash-strapped New Yorkers who need an extra tenant in their building. Well, not exactly, which leads me to number 2. Airbnb promotes misleading advertising that misrepresents who is renting and who is profiting. The study also found that in New York City, half of the rentals conducted on the site are actually by 10% of the hosts. So your cozy, authentic New York City getaway is probably not that. It's probably someone who is taking these buildings and renting them out for the sole purpose of being Airbnbs. And this allows them to get around a lot of hotel and short-term rental regulations that are implemented in New York City. This has even led to landlords kicking out long-term renters in favor of short-term renters, which obviously get a better profit margin over year-long leases. And the third problem with Airbnb is that it may be destroying the values that it promotes. You may assume that when tourists are in local neighborhoods that there is going to be a better mix of tourists and locals interacting, which contributes to a more authentic travel experience. However, it's becoming increasingly common that instead of the mixing of locals and tourists, tourists are actually replacing locals. An article from The Telegraph reports that 1 in 5 properties in the historic center of Florence is being rented out through Airbnb. And an article about Airbnbs in Tel Aviv says that more and more neighborhoods will be for tourists only. Paris's mayor even claims that the city center is losing its population and increasingly becoming one big neighborhood for tourists. The author Tom Slee, I think, puts it best when he says, "The company's claim to let you live like a local loses its meaning when there are no more locals." So what's the verdict? Should we all stop using Airbnb and boycott it like it's this horrible company? Not exactly. Like I said, I think I wanted to add some nuance to the debate, and my personal opinion is I'm going to keep using Airbnb, but using it in a more socially responsible way. There are several solutions that a lot of really smart people have come up with that would allow Airbnb to continue its business model, but also do it in a way that actually does what it claims to be and connects people to people. Some solutions include using the platform to boost local economies in less popular parts of the city, limiting hosts to 1 listing, limiting the number of days that you can have a listing, and limiting the density. But of course, all of these solutions interfere with the profit motive of a company that's valued over $38 billion. So what can you do when you're trying to book your next Airbnb to make it more socially responsible? Well, here are some solutions that have been given by Green Suitcase Travel. You can first ask yourself, are you staying in a private room of a home where the owner is present? If so, message your host. See if they'd be willing to talk to you about the local attractions, or if they just like to have a conversation with you, like Christiana and I did over jam in the mornings before I would go explore the city. And if you're renting an entire home, ask, is the home part of a new development or in an area where there are a ton of other home sharing options? If this is true, then it may just be a ghost dwelling and you probably are contributing to the problem of Airbnb. My personal recommendation and what I will be doing going forward is always staying in a private room when I can, if it's just me traveling or just a couple people, so I can really interact with the host and do what I think is the great part about Airbnb, which is meeting new people and interacting with people who actually live in the place that you're touring. So if you have different opinions on this, I would love to hear them. And I would also love to hear if you've had Airbnb experiences, whether they be horrible or great. Go ahead and leave those in the comments down below. And as I said in the beginning of this video, if you'd like to see more on the series of sustainability and travel, go ahead and click the playlist that's at the end of this video. So go ahead and click that subscribe button if you're curious about more of this kind of content, and leave comments down below if you have any videos that you'd like me to cover. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you friends next time.